poor on this computer. Okay, Jerry, you can start whenever.
I can just hit play and it starts. Is that how it works? Oh, I see. Okay. Man, this is pretty laggy.
Should we watch it at like a faster speed so that way we actually like, can get through the whole thing?
Is it really laggy for anybody else?
Yeah.
All of us.
Sid, are you still here? Is there a different way we can like stream it? Because it's
You'll hop
Are
on
you
the
talking about
disc.
Are you talking about the audio?
the video. I don't even care about the audio.
Wait, what about it? Is it laggy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can like share a link like
Okay,
you do in
give
school
me-
G
Give me
conferences.
1 sec. Okay, I'm just sharing it without sound. Is it better now?
Press play. Yeah, it's better.
Okay, cool.
I just won't
Oh,
be able to control it, I think. I'm not sure.
you should be able to control it right now. Let me just, sorry, I'm just trying to mute myself.
Okay.
Oh, wait, stop. Yeah. Stop moving, Joey.
Oh, dude, it's so laggy. Like I click it and it's like it happens 3 seconds later.
Well, it's because you're controlling my screen. Wait, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you stop controlling my screen? Actually, never mind. I got it.
Okay, so right there, Tyler centers to Wyatt, which is really good because you don't want to have the disc trapped on one side of the field. And then I think it was force backhand, so that was a throw to me on the break side. So ideally, there should probably be a cut right here. We'll see if it happens. Yeah, so that's a good cut by Holden. And then I think they switched to the force again. So now we're just moving it up along the break side. This is pretty free. I don't know about that throw. It's kind of a 50-50. I feel like that's something we should work on, which is just once we get into a position like that, slowing it down. Getting it off the sideline would help a lot. So we swinging it around to the center somewhere, and then opening up attacks on both sides. Greg and Sid, if you have something to say, just tell me so I can stop the video.
Sorry. To get to the center, you would use like if it's a handler cut. You remember those like railroad track cuts? So if this is this, shoot. If this is the second handler, so if this is the sideline, this is the handler, this is the mark, and then the disc is right here, you would make that cut back here, and then they would make that a round throw. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay, cool. Let me clear everything. All right, yeah.
I think that was another turn. That was the right idea. It was just poor execution. You could probably chill with it a little bit longer.
Wait, Jerry, do you mind if I just want to look at that cut again. I just want to rewind a little bit. So if y'all saw Sudini's diagram about cuts, he talked about staying in the middle third. So Ben right there, so the disc is on the far side. Ben cut far to the break side, so that throw became harder to make. So that's why staying in the middle third is so important. So like a lot of our cuts, most of the time our cuts go to the closer side, so like to the fourth side of the field, so the far side, but Ben just went a little bit too far to the left.
So what I see is actually something a little different. Like I feel like if the throw was actually more to the left, it would have been a point, because what in Sedini's example, he's talking about cutting diagonal when you're working on the fourth side. That's, you know, cuts off the angle, versus if you put it just straight, you run straight, the whole kind of end zone's available. Here, if you guys like rewind and move, you can see how the disc is coming from fourth side to break side. And really, I don't know who threw the disc there, but they kind of have, yeah, Shin, they kind of have a little bit of an open, see how he's got his guys behind him? He has an open look for a backhand. And so if the throw is more to the cone, that's where the space is for Ben to go. But the throw went up and curved, and that was not a great location for the defender. Do you guys see that? You want to rewind it one more time?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, sorry. I thought it was a different throw that was happening there. My bad.
Yeah, no. So I think what Sedini says is correct. Try not to, if you're going to bust deep in, like, let's say we get a throw off on the fourth side and somebody's in power position, you're gonna go deep, try to go deep straight and not necessarily at an angle. But in this case, where we're actually working it across and getting to the break side, you'd want to try to work that break side even more, because the defender's guy is behind him.
Everybody sees like Ben is right here and he has a ton of space on this side, right?
Right.
Okay, cool.
And it's also the position that Shin is in. He can just throw it. Yeah, his guy is far behind him, and this is a break, so he can just throw it out to space, and he should be able to hit Ben pretty easily.
Can you pause it right there? Back before the first cut was made. So this line is the starting line or kill line. So they're pretty good about doing this. But if you notice, I think I can't really tell. That might be Wyatt, but whoever was last back, Wyatt took a high line approach whenever he was marking his man at the top of the stack. So he's sort of forcing him to take the in cut. He's also doing a good job of keeping an eye on both his cutter and the guy with the disc.
Something right there, like even when you're doing that high line, so you're forcing in, so right there, I think that might be Shin. So you see coming out of the stack, I'm just going to call it Shin even if it isn't him. He's very close to his defender, forcing his cutter in. But then once his cutter gets in, Shin kind of starts backing off. And this is less exaggerated than what happened earlier. Sorry, I'm just trying to find. So like right here, do you see how much separation this person has? And like when we go highline and we force in, that doesn't mean you give, like you allow a free in cut. That means you should still stay with them and prevent them from getting that in cut and like put pressure on it. But you want to make sure that there's definitely no deep cut.
All right, can you pause it here, Sid? Okay, so if you're the defender that you're marking, that's who's marking me, you're set up backwards. So the guy who's marking Tyler has the disc. He's doing a force backhand. So as the defender on me, you should be on the left side of the screen. So I did this in winter and it was really funny. But like I'm intentionally lining up backwards, and that's making him think, oh, the force is flick. So he positions himself on the flick side. So that basically leaves the whole force side open, and he's not looking at the disc, so he doesn't really know what's going on. Their coach doesn't know what's going on either, because their coach was yelling force flick. But whenever, especially in the end zone set, you need to make sure that you're on the right side of your guy and that you know which side is the force and which side is a break. Otherwise, this will happen.
Yeah, and the sideline needs to be communicating. Everybody on the field needs to communicate that point too. So because I think there was a turn in the end zone, right? Is that what just happened before? So there should be several seconds where we have time to get set up.
If there's anything else you want to say, Sid, I think you can jump to the next point. So somebody's not covering that guy that catches it, was about to catch it. I'm not sure who it was, but we need to try and limit that, because that's how I think they scored 2 points based on that alone. Just off the pool, we're losing our guy. That's a really good job by Tyler there, bodying the second handler as he tries to cup up line. He did have like a broken leg or whatever, but that is what you should be doing. He positions himself where the second handler wants to go and gets there before him.
Yeah, it's different than pushing the guy. He is forcing the guy to not have the strike cut for what he wants. He, as Joey said, is getting in front and disrupting his motion. And if he runs into you, I mean, it is what it is. It'd be a foul on him, if anything. But if you were to like tackle him as he's running, that would obviously not be good. So, try to occupy the space the guy wants before he gets there. And that's exactly what Taiwan did.
Some other issues with how it's set up right now for Central. The guy's upline cut, the second handler, what he's trying to make won't really work even if he beats Tyler, because he's like literally running right into the stack. There's like 3 or 4 people where he's trying to go. So if you're making that cut, make sure that you plan it accordingly. And if you're in the stack, make sure that it's set up properly, just so that you guys don't get in like each other's ways.
Also, when the second handler is, so like right here, the second handler almost has tie Y beat, but what tie Y does is he rotates, and see right there, he's preventing the second handler because like the second handler has to move sideways to get around him. So now tie Y is forcing him to be even closer. So like even if he gets this 2-yard throw, it doesn't do anything, but it prevents the handler from going up and getting a big power position. Okay, right there, this is a big problem we had. So if we go right here. Okay, right here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 central players going for that disc, and 3 people from back here. If there's a disc that goes up, you have to go for it. Even if you think they won't get it, it's better to be there. And even if you're just there, you're affecting it and reducing the chances of them getting it. But like, make sure you're not just like standing here and you're letting them beat you there.
Especially, and this is, I think, what Sid's saying, especially yesterday, they got to stall 8, 9, 10 so often that they were just punting. Like it's one thing if like your guy cuts deep, like, you know, not everybody has to bust for that, but if they're punting it and it's like a really crappy throw and it's not intended for anybody, we should all be running to get that disc so the other team doesn't get there first. Joey did a nice job of helping a lot yesterday with those like punts.
That's a good cut by Ben. He's pretty wide open. It was just a missed throw.
Yeah, that was also from Joey, that was good awareness. So like if you're in stack, even if you're the third cut, stay aware because something might go over and you might be able to get something. And those throws that go over, if you can catch them, those tend to be big plays like this. Sorry, I just want to check something about Holden's positioning here. So right there, does everybody see how, like, I can't rewind like 1 second, but 1 second before that, Holden had the advantage on the disc, but the central player got in front of him and they're effectively jumping at the same height. But because Holden is behind the player, it will be nearly impossible for him to make a play if they're jumping at the same height. So having positioning on 50-50s in the air is really important. You want to be the closer one to the disc, because now, like, it's so much harder to get a play on the disc if you're behind them. And this is called boxing out. If you watch Wyatt when he plays, Wyatt is like a shorter player, but he does a very good job of this. So yeah.
Did he step out on that, Sid? Can you rewind for like 5 seconds? Yeah. Okay. That was a good cut by Sid. The guy that was marking Sid sort of also just sort of let him get by. He didn't put up like a body to block him or try and slow him down. He did sort of get juked out. But even in that case, you sort in the end zone, especially, I would typically play closer to your man just because if you get baited, it's almost like a guaranteed score. So right here, he's playing sort of standoffish. And once Sid makes the cut to the left, he sort of backs off even more. And then Sid just can run straight to the right without any resistance.
Yeah. If you look at the central player's hips, because hips are like a big indicator for cutting. His hips are in a line completely parallel to mine. So basically, we're in line with each other. And like obviously, you standing like your body from the side versus the front is a lot thinner. So here, his feet are also very wide, so he's off balanced. So then that's how I'm able to get that cut in. So like when you're defending, you should make sure that you're not in line with your person and your hips are a little bit angled off, because that'll allow you to also turn easier. Greg and Jerry, anything else, or can I go to the next point?
I think you can go to the next point for me, at least.
Okay, cool. Also, if y'all see anything that we don't bring up or like you have questions about something, please ask, because I'll make this help all of you learn the most.
That
Okay,
might have been a pick.
yeah, also this point, if you look at me, I played like absolutely terrible defense on this point. So if you watch like right here throughout the point, I try to play off my person a little bit because I could tell he was a little bit more inexperienced. And like I was faster than him. So I tried playing off of him a bit, but I ended up having really bad positioning. And you'll see when the stack gets a little bit messier, I completely lose him and he gets a very easy four-side cut. So that's just like, that'll be something I will point out later. But like, yeah, this was a point I remember I had really bad defense on. So like right there, this is something you should never do when you're on the set stack. Like he's completely to my back and he could have busted deep right there and they could have put something up to him. So make sure you're always triangulating, look at the person you're covering and the disc, because this is a terrible position to be in. So if you look at Santino's defense right there, so right here, it looks like he's forcing low line. So he's forcing the person deep, which for Santino, he's a fast person. So that makes pretty good sense. But Santino lets the cutter get a very easy under. And he stays with him, but when you're like, he was able to stay with him because he like it's fast, so he could stay with him. But when you're forcing deep and playing that low line, you want to stop that under a lot more aggressively. The way he followed that under was how you should follow it if you're forcing in. So yeah.
Right here, my defense is not very good. I don't really get in front of him, so he sort of just runs by me. You'll see that.
I think you also get picked right here by maybe thinking of a different point. We'll see.
I also got turned around, like my back was to the disc, and you don't really want that to happen.
What happened on that turn there? I didn't see. Did we just miss
Shane
it?
just dropped it.
Okay.
I think he dropped it like 3 times this point.
Oh yeah.
It's just not coming to practice, I guess.
Yeah. The same thing with Santino's D happened right there. Like again, he's doing that low line, but then he's getting beyond that under. So yeah, just watch out for that.
So yeah, John just got caught off guard on that, but he makes a good play. So he in the beginning, on that deep, John sort of tries to box his defender out, and I think it worked, but his defender just moves around him, but he still doesn't make a play on it. But initially, right here, that's what you should try and do.
Yeah, in real time, it kind of looked like it might have been a foul. I mean, I couldn't tell for sure. The guy didn't call it. Obviously, they seem to be fairly inexperienced with making calls. Maybe there wasn't much there now that I'm looking at it again. But it's always tricky when you're like dancing around each other and you both kind of go up at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically, if something's really bad, like we could technically use our footage to review it. Right? Because the rules say as long as it doesn't like take too much time.
I don't know what the updated.
Okay, I thought they said
Okay.
you can use footage as long as like not too time consuming. Okay, it doesn't matter because like
Yeah,
realistically, we probably won't do that. Ben, what went wrong there? Or somebody, what went wrong there?
Play the clip again.
It's hard to tell because John picks it up and throws it and it's off
Yeah.
the screen.
Well, what I was going to say was it's like a pacing thing. Like when you pick it up, if everybody's like running backwards and stuff, just be very careful about your throws and only make something you know for sure you can make. Like making a 20-yard throw through a ton of people might not be the best idea. So like, especially like as a freshman, like a sophomore, you might get a D and get like really excited and stuff, but like just calm down and make an easy throw.
Yeah, and we really weren't even set up. Like I appreciate John maybe wanting to try to take a fast break there, but you know, it might be better for whoever's handling on that point to like approach the disc, pick it up, unless John sees a handler like pretty wide open and it's not that strenuous of a throw. You know, it's better to maybe just take another second or two to get set up into our offense. The only difference is if like Sid or Taiwan or Joey are picking up the disc and there's nobody behind you, like those guys can put it deep. And so, you know, then I would just go and try to keep the defense honest.
Yeah, I think on that point, Taiwai was trying to talk to John, but there was also like a miscommunication. So I think that had happened there. So yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to see what happened with John's cut that he was covering. Yeah, so that's a good example of when you guard high line, but you're too high. Like, see, John's like 5 feet away from this person, and like that doesn't really do anything because then they have a free under, and like yes, they drop it, but you don't want to rely on the other person dropping it. So just make sure when you're forcing in, you're still staying close enough that if they go for that under, you can pressure their shoulder.
Yeah, on this throw, I should have maintained the deeper position. I sort of misread that part. I thought it would come down a lot sooner, and then towards the end, it was just out the back of the end zone. So
Their field tends to be a little bit tighter. I think they still kind of get the dimensions, but it always feels a little short.
yeah, it was a little bit weird. I think we had a couple strikes in the end zone that sort of went out of bounds. Can you rewind there, Sid?
Yeah, I was
Alright,
wondering. Yeah, you can go
So
through.
first, I think Fish slips on his guy, but I think when he's down on the ground, he's not really paying attention to his guy, and his guy basically could have gone deep for free. It might be this cut right here. So what do you want? If you watch Fish right now, he has no idea where his guy is for like a good 1 second, and his guy could have got like go deep for free. Right there.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, when his back is turned, that's why you triangulate. And like I talked about hips before, Fish's hips are like angled like that. There's no good way to do this because it's like 2D. But his hips are facing like towards the fence, like back here. But his hips need to be open more like this, facing this guy, to triangulate. Also, what I did right there, also looks like I'm going to fall right here for some reason. I tried to like back off on this guy in case they threw that deep hook, but I should have trusted Fish, or we should have communicated a switch right there. But like moral of the story is trust your defense, stay on your man because like that's your responsibility. And because I didn't do that, he's like 10 feet ahead of me and they have an easy under and are able to get a lot of space.
And so right there, the cut that just went off screen, Fish is playing highline, but he's not really playing highline. He's just standing there. So if you want to play highline, that should happen. Like you shouldn't just run right by you. Like you might as well play low line in that case. So that's just again using your body and making sure that you're putting in some resistance.
Also, wait. So like right here, his man could have just like busted deep right there. So make sure I keep on talking about hips because that's like, it's so important for defense. Fish is pulling his hips straight towards the thrower, but because if he was higher up, like back here, in this position, he would be able to face his person, and if his man went deep, then he could cut him off. But because he doesn't do that, it's a lot easier. His like he could have been burned right here completely.
Hey, pause real quick. So I like how I think that was Sid, and he probably even said, I'm pushing, I'm going. So Taiwai got rid of the disc, somebody caught it. So now the person that caught it is basically acting as like a handler, and Taiwai is the second handler, and Sid got out of that space. I think like that's the perfect thing to do. You know, sometimes that handler can take and break deep and try to get a good strike there, but they could also kind of go into the stack, and if a swing comes back to Taiwai, they can go to the break side to get that disc. I don't know what the next sequence is here, but try not to have like 3 or 4 people in the backfield there, and Sid did the nice thing by clearing into the stack.
This throw is just the out of bounds one.
I just want to look at Joey. I just want to show your timing on that continuation. So see, it's not in power position, but like, because I'm on the ground, of course, but it's right there. And see, Joey's timing his cut. Like, yeah, he's in the middle of the stack, but he probably recognized that neither of them were going for that power for that continuation, and he knows like I have a relatively like I have a stronger flick. Sorry. And so he's going for that deep cut, and he knows he can
This
get
is the thing
separation.
that Sidini was talking about. My deep cut should have been more vertical. Like I'm leaving Sid like a 1 foot space where he can make that throw. And
Yeah.
whereas if I just go straight deep, he has a lot more opportunity.
Yeah, like it was a harder throw because I had to make it like a little bit OI but really floaty. So it was just like, yeah, it was a harder throw to make. But yeah.
Our stack is also, I mean, it's quite on that side of the field, you know, like it looks like we're pushing the right third. So don't forget like positioning, because we want to be able to have enough space on both sides. Maybe the angle's got me off. I don't know, but
Yeah, we were a little bit cramped. Overall, I thought we did stack better than Central. Like when we started playing stack, we were really cramped, and that's how it felt like Central was doing it. So I'm happy that we are improving, but we still need to do a little bit of work on that.
I agree. I think that our cuts were a lot better than Central's, but I think that not everybody's cuts were better than Central's. So I think we just all need to work together to get better at that, because we had some really good people making some nice cuts, and then we had other people that I think are a little more inexperienced and need to work on their quickness out of the stack, and the right angle to get the disc and that kind of stuff.
That was a good cut from Central right there. So they swung the disc and their person cut immediately. It was a little bit too wide, but that's a cut the set stack really wants to look to make, to swing the disc, especially if the disc starts on the sideline. Being able to swing all the way to the break side in 5 seconds puts the disc in a much better position.
I agree with both of that. And then as he hits play, watch what the handler does. He does this like fake and then spins around. Never do that. Because you're putting your back to where all of your players are, and that's not good, even if it takes a second.
In case anybody missed it, Greg was talking about the handler with the disc. So that moment right there, here, 14. So like here.
Looks like he does it twice, actually, but yeah.
Right there. See, he spins around. You don't want to do that. You'll see some higher level players do that occasionally, but like right now, don't worry about that. Just like stick with regular fakes because it allows you to be aware of the field.
Right here, this is good awareness by Tyler and somebody else in the stack, I think. John, maybe. But they see the punt, basically. Not much of a punt, though, but they're able to swat it down.
Yeah, I think also the throw was off balance because they just spun around. So it was a lot harder to make a throw. So when you're, if you have the disc, don't spin. Like pivot, but don't spin. Also notice on this point, there are a lot of like technical mistakes, like throwing errors, catching errors. And as you can tell, like this point goes from here to like here. So it's a long point. It's so like it starts around 10 minutes and goes, let's subtract like 4 minutes for like timeout and stuff. It probably goes for like 9 minutes, which is a long point. Most of our points are around under 5 minutes. So like when we talk about like focusing on your catching, focusing on your throwing, it's preventing these long points that happen because of these small technical errors.
Yeah. One thing that I bring up, every so often, and it's something that you guys might want to start thinking about doing at practice, is a lot of the drills that you guys run, go drill, stuff like that. The cutter's running away from you as the handler, as the person's making the throw, and that's okay. But I think a lot of times in especially in the stack, you're getting people cutting towards you. And so when we're practicing and just running some drills, try to get some in-cut drills too and mix it up, because I think that's going to help you better mimic what you would see in a game from like a stack perspective. There are going to be times where we're going to have people cutting away, but majority of people are going to be presenting towards you, I think. And usually the handlers or people that are more advanced at throwing will be making those people cutting away throws. So just something to think about. There's some simple in-cut drills that I'm sure you guys can run at practice.
I think central stack is like ridiculously cramped right now. Like, I don't care how fast you are, even if you get open, it's not doing a whole lot. Just based on their angle at which they're attacking. This is something that we were doing in the beginning. We sort of fixed it a little bit now. But that's what it looks like in game and why it's so important to stay a little bit more spaced.
Also, there's something their cutter does right here that you never want to do. So look, he cuts, and then he gets to the end of his cut, and he effectively stops, and then he walks over back to the stack. Two big reasons, well, like three, I guess. First is this clear out to the stack cut is one of the it's a very dangerous cut. Like if you can catch it as you're clearing out, that's a lot more dangerous than catching it on an in cut, because you can throw it to it's a lot easier to throw it to the break side. Second reason is that you're clogging the lane, so like there could be an in cut happening right there. And then third is, if your team has like figured out the timing at full speed, if you're walking back, that's going to mess up the timing also. So like, don't walk back to the stack. That should be a hard clear out, because then Taiwan is able to stay in the lane and stop the next in cut, because his cutter is just walking back to the stack.
Hey guys, this was fun. I'm gonna have to hop off, but feel free to continue and let me know if you have any questions at certain points. I could watch it later on.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Oh, okay. This is how not to lay out, because this is a terrible layout. So if you see, it was a deep throw. I was staying with him. So if I put this in slow mode, so right here, I put my arm. So like, if you see the way I'm jumping off with my leg completely straight, and I never like loaded, I never like bent my leg. So I'm not jumping as far as I can, if that makes sense. Because like when you run, you bring your legs up and you bend them so you can put as much force into the ground. And if you like stand up right now and you try to jump, if you try to jump with your legs fully extended, you're not going to be able to jump that high. But if you like go into a quarter squat and jump, you'll be going to be able to jump really high. So when you're laying out, make sure you're jumping with a bent leg. And then I just like swatted at the disc. I should have tried to grab it, because now also my elbow is in a terrible position. I'm about to land on my elbow, which you never want to do. But instead, I do something which is also terrible, which is I use my hands to cushion myself. I end up rolling, which helps a little bit, but you shouldn't have to roll. So yeah, that just like that's an example of how not to lay out, because it was just a terrible layout. Never use your hands to cushion yourself. You should land on your chest. Make sure you're loading like into a quarter squat and like springing off your leg, and always try to catch it and not swat at it, because you're more likely to catch it than swat it.
Well, we'll go over like proper technique in practice soon. But even in practices, especially if you're a newer player, I would highly recommend you trying to lay out and not giving up at the ones that are close to the ground whenever it's like only like less than 5 yards away. Because if you can't do it then and you're trying it for the first time in game, probably not going to work. After like you can do it and you're sure that you can do it consistently, it's completely okay to like stop doing it in practice, because it does have like a higher chance of injury. But you do want to make sure that it is something that you're not afraid of doing and that you are capable of doing consistently.
It's also much easier to do in game once you figure out how to do it. Because when you have all the adrenaline pumping and stuff, like I would probably not make that layout. Like I'm not going to call that a real layout, but I would never make that attempt at a D in practice probably. But I made it in the game because I was like had the adrenaline and stuff going through it. So it's easier to lay out in game, but building that technique during practice is important, like Joey said.
It's about here where I'm sort of thinking the whole game that they haven't played very physical. So any cut I make in the handler space is basically going to be free and I'm going to be wide open. So I think this is the direction this is the point where I score on the upline, but I'm thinking about it right now because they've just been playing so weak so far. Sid, are we bracketing here?
Yeah, because this was off the timeout, so we had time. We may talk about bracketing later. Essentially, it's like playing like a mini zone. So Joey's covering anything that goes deep. I'm covering anything that goes in. Yeah, we may teach this later on. Depends how far we get, like at basics. That's a good example of keeping your head on a swivel, and also how up calls can help because Joey was able to turn around and just see that D. So yeah. This is a part which I like look off of 3 throws that I should have made and end up making like a lot harder of a throw. So like right here, Joey makes that pass to me. He goes up. Like I even like go to do it, but then like it was like a last minute like hesitancy and doubt in my head. I was like, oh, I don't know if I can make that. You gotta trust yourself to make those small passes because like all of us can make that small pass. So Joey's wide open right here. Like I should have passed to him, but he doesn't get it. And then I forget who comes back, but yeah, Fish comes back. I don't even look at him. Like I look at him, but I don't even throw it at him. And like I should have. That was a great cut on his part. And then I end up making a hard throw to Santino. So like just like trust your throws, and like Sudini talked about trusting the handler system, and like he like I remember he told me that after this point, because like right there they were like Joey and Fish made very good textbook plays, but I didn't do it. So trust the handler system, and trust your like throws, especially in game. That throw right there, it's fine. It was fine for Tuesday because it wasn't windy. Do you see how it's hard to see the disc? So like the disc is right here. That's so angled up that if it was a windy day, the wind would hit that and it would just like get boosted up. So watch those small dump passes, keep them flat and floaty. Don't angle them to make them floaty, because that'll make them a lot worse.
That's something that you can work on during Go Drill. I always see, I think Ethan throw his backhands and flicks just up super high, and someday if there's wind, it's gonna go to like Mars or something.
That's just an example of like, I don't want to say bad handler movement, but it's just inefficient. So they were in the 45 back position. They made that cut. That's a good cut. Just an easy dump. But if you notice the way he cuts off, it's like lethargic, and it's not hard enough. And because he's not cutting off hard enough, they're blocking the lane for a couple of seconds. So just make sure when you're doing handler cuts, you're being really quick and really explosive. Doing quick throw and goes, like throwing it and doing like a quick cut is really effective as a handler. And that's something Jake did a lot. So yeah.
So right there, it's nice that I got the D on that. But something I should really be doing is attacking the disc at a higher point. I think my jump there was basically pointless. I would get a higher height if I just stood up and put my arm up straight. So in these scenarios, there's always going to be somebody taller or somebody who's going to jump higher. So you have to get there and attack the disc.
Also, like one of us should like I should have just like cut back right there or done something. Like, yeah, I had a defender on my heels, but like one of us should have cut back because I think it's like if it's like stall 1, 2, 3, like it's like 3 seconds till he gets it's like so 2 seconds till he gets a cut. And like 2 seconds for getting your first cut is a long time. So just be like, we should have been more aware right there and somebody should have cut back.
This is the part where, remember earlier, I was like talking about how they were playing lazy. So that's where it came in. My guy's just already, once I get parallel with Sid, I think he's like 2 or 3 steps behind me.
Also, having communication is really important. You can't hear it in the video, but Joey shouted to me, red rocket, before that. If you don't remember, what that means is that the handler is going to cut into the upline space. So like he said that to me. So I was already thinking in my fakes of how to move the mark so I could throw that break side throw. So having communication, especially in the handler space where things tend to be more free flowing, is so important.
Can you skip to a point where there's some like newer people in it? Might be the next one. I don't know. This point was ridiculously long.
Yeah, I think the next point is when you pull all the captains off, right?
No, because I went off after that one.
Okay.
Yeah, let's watch this one. So one thing that these guys are making a mistake of, there's like 5 of them looking up at the disc, but only one of them is going to catch it, and they only have 2 handlers. So if you're not a handler, you should get your butt moving down the field because they're just moving so slow right here.
The stack should be set and the first cut should either be made or about to be made when the disc is caught or when the disc is centered. Also, the reason we say disc coming, like when the person who's pulling says disc coming in 3, 2, 1, is so that you can run up in the end zone and not be off sides. Like we're always off sides. Everybody's always off sides. But like there's some teams who will call off sides. And like as long as it's not egregious, normally it's fine. But like, yeah, try to avoid offsides. So that's why we say disc 3, 2, 1.
It's a deep put where he's just not looking for the disc. I think that's Rocco.
Yeah, and this is where triangulation is important because right here, well, even earlier, but like, yeah, like, even like, no matter where your person is, when people give an up call, you should look for the disc because your positioning it shouldn't matter where the other person is. What only matters is where the disc is. And then you get to and then you figure out how do you get to the best place to catch it. And then you can figure out like, where do I go? How do I box the other person out? But your first priority should be seeing where the disc is and getting in the best position to catch it.
That's a good cut by Shin. Right there. Can you rewind? So keep an eye on Anthony. rewind like 5 more seconds actually.
Oh, also before that, see, I just want to point out something that because this was just a turn, I don't know like what the force was before. Shin might have switched it because he's like newer. See, because he and Holden are on the same side, the defense isn't effective, and then this is a really easy free throw that they get off. And then this is why also like Fish earlier on should have like Fish was so far behind his person that like because he wasn't tight and he was playing like lazy defense, they were able to get a big upline. Joey, anything to add?
No. It's just the zone point. I know. So their force is not at all consistent there. That's some good movement. It's a nice deep put.
Yeah, Shin's cut could have been more to the middle because it's the same thing. Like that was the same thing with Joey's cut. Like that throw was a really hard throw to make because I had to put it in the right place. It was a farther, so it was easier to get that angle right. But yeah, just be careful about those deep throws because putting that in the corner is so difficult, especially when you try and get in the end zone and in the corner. To try and make in the middle, it's a lot easier to put it in a better position if you're in the middle.
Something I do want to point out on that point. I think the longest somebody had the disc was like 3 or 4 seconds, and that's ideally how it should be. The flow was really consistent and we never really bogged down. And that's not to say that you want to rush your decisions. It's just that we had good options available. And that's how stack becomes really effective. It's when you don't really have to stop and think, oh, I'm first cut, then second, then third, and then we're going to go all over again in this conveyor belt. It's really at its best whenever it's more free flowing and when everybody knows what's going on and nobody's really playing stack. They're just playing frisbee.
Yeah. Also a more technical thing that Shin does here that's really that's really good. Of course, like you have to be able to sprint full field for this, but he makes this throw right here and then immediately he busts deep, which is like it seems really simple, but people when you throw, especially as a mark, a lot of times they'll like turn around to look at it or like something and they won't be ready. So like you see he throws it and then he starts running, and then once he sees that I have it, he almost immediately starts going deep and his defender is behind him the whole time. So especially like people like Schroeds and Ben who are like y'all are starting to handle more, look for those opportunities to like, and both of you are faster, so like look for those opportunities to make that quick throw and like go deep, especially if you're throwing to somebody who can put it deep, because that'll be really effective. But also like make sure you can beat person deep, because if you sprint full field and you don't beat them, you're going to be gassed and it's going to be hard to be like effective after that. I think this is, never mind, this isn't the Z point. Like notice right now, they have the disc picked up, they're about to center it. They still have like a clump. Their set stack is starting to set up. They don't have a stack right now, and it slows them down a lot because it's probably going to be like stall 3 or 4 until they can even get one cut, or it's going to be like a cut from the middle that won't be as good because it won't be like they want proper space.
So I don't know whose guy is this right here.
I'm guessing it's Fish's, because Fish is running towards, because Fish is empty.
Can you rewind? Let's see the
yeah.
game whenever they set it up.
Yeah, so I think there was probably a miscommunication that they thought they had them and Fish had this person, but they would like
I don't
gangs
think
it.
the person who catches the disc is actually Anthony's guy. I think Anthony was
Oh, okay.
the guy behind him. But it's just really important that whenever you pull the disc and you're coming down, that you remember which number you said and which guy that correlates to, because this happened on the very last point. There was like a total miscommunication. Somebody forgot their guy. Pebble couldn't keep up with his guy, and then they just score like in 10 seconds.
The thing about this line, we were sat there on the line waiting to pull, and we didn't figure it out for like 5 whole minutes who was guarding who, because people wanted switches and switches and switches, and it got confused. So we said, okay, you're just gonna go down and you're gonna pick your guy and you're gonna communicate it. And then we went down, and guess what? We didn't communicate it at all, and then we got a wide open guy right off the start. Like, I don't know why that's happening, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We gotta figure that out though. That can't happen again.
Yeah, like it's like when we're playing against like ourselves, like like where people are, but like especially like this is the 6th point of the game. Yeah, we're like a quarter of the way into it, but you still really don't know like everything about all of the players. So like don't get stressed out about like picking somebody who will like be a mismatch. Like yeah, just don't worry about that, because chances of that happening, like yeah,
Also,
don't overstress.
if you're not a senior player, like you're semi new to the team, don't argue with the decisions that the older players make, even if it's a bad decision. Like just arguing with it midpoint or when you're about to make a pool just sort of confuses everybody. And I know that's what happened on the zone point. Like just trust that they're right, even if they aren't right, they'll fix it later. But you just don't want to be responsible for that.
Did something just happen with your sound?
No.
Give me 1 second. I'm having sound issues. Can somebody talk?
Hello? Hello?
Okay, cool.
So yeah, that's just Pebble getting beat deep. Positioning can help with that. You're also young, so I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Sudini yelled this at somebody. I forget who yelled. He might have been yelling it at John at this point. So John is pushing up a lot. And we've been doing like you'll see us doing this sometimes during practice. But like it's the whole idea like, do you trust your cardio defense? And like may say no, like we have terrible cardio defense. But the thing is you have to trust them, because like their handler cuts were really bad. So like if John played tight, John may end up playing tighter here, but if he had played tighter, then it's going to be a lot harder for them to get handler cuts, because they had newer, like we have new players, but their players were getting really nervous. So yeah, just like in this 45 back position, try to avoid the urge to like step off. Also, this isn't the 45 back position, is it? Yeah, John should have been a lot closer, because High White's trying to sign off, so there's no reason for him to be back there.
You gotta make sure you're staying with your man. Like Pebble, I know you're like a slower player, but like you can't let your person go on the break side. Like they can go on the break side, but you have to make sure you're with them.
I
so they
was
don't make
trying
those
my
throws.
best.
Yeah, that's fine. You just gotta like make sure that you're prioritizing staying with them rather than staying in the stack where everybody else is. Okay, jeez.
That's a nice throw, Sin.
Okay, so it was a nice throw, but like, and there was a hole there, and like the camera can't see Taiwai right now, but like that's a really risky throw to make, and like Holden had to make a good grab for that. Just like, especially since I was the middle handler, I should have just passed it to Taiwai. The key in zone as a handler is to keep things simple and let the cup tire themselves out rather than letting them tire you out trying to make fancy throws and stuff, especially if it's windy and you're like in a situation where you should actually play a zone. So like don't make throws like that because I was just like stupid, even though it ended up working out. Also right there, for handlers, so like right there, Taiwai gives it to Wyatt, and like Wyatt can handle. Oh wait, sorry. So like Wyatt can handle. Like there's no reason to have. It's like similar with what Greg was saying about pushing up. There's no need to have 4 handlers back here. So if this 4 handler is just like really Holden should have probably pushed up because here's the 4 handler, but I just decided to. So like make sure there's not a ton of handlers back here because we need poppers. That was really good carded defense from Wyatt right there. So notice he's forcing him in, but even when he goes under, Wyatt's pressuring him. And like this isn't a very good cut. Like his cut needed to like, oh geez. Sorry, let me just, it's like Wyatt's staying with him, forcing him in. The cut should have been more like that. Sorry. The cut should have been more here. Just because the handler is all the way on the sideline. But because Wyatt pressures the cutters so much, and like Joey said before, they weren't playing a very physical game, Wyatt's able to keep him in. So make sure even when you're forcing in, you're keeping that pressure on the
You
shoulder.
notice Wyatt's positioning. Even if his cutter decides to go deep, he's gonna run into Wyatt. So Wyatt put himself in a place where he's basically forcing him in, and as a that cutter, you can't really do anything. Like you just got to clear out at that point. I'm
So
not
right,
sure what happened there to Ben.
yeah, Ben, you've got hops, use them. Like see right here, Ben's in the perfect position. If Ben jumps right now, he probably wins that 50-50. Because the disc will fall, Ben can probably jump right there. Or even if he doesn't get it right there, because he's right, because he'll be blocking the disc and the other person won't be able to read it, the other person probably can't get it. But instead, Ben tries to run the disc down, and because it's a floatier disc, the other person is able to read it and get it. That was like a very nice throw, and that's like the perfect throw you want if your cutter's on the far side. But like when you're right there, even if you're not 100% sure if you can get it, you have a higher chance of getting it earlier than you do later.
Don't
I
start
think
yet. You can finish what you're saying though, if you have something.
okay. It was like something that I think it's Rowan McDonald. He was like, jump first, jump early, and you'll win most of your 50-50s. So yeah.
So right now I don't have a guy. I forget who I was marking exactly, but if you look at my face right now, I'm looking at the disc. I'm not looking at my guy, and I don't know if the guy that I pick up is my guy. But once Ben's man catches the disc, I turn my head and I find the guy who's going deep, because once the guy catches that disc, somebody's going deep for it, because that's just good offense. So you want to make sure that after this man catches the disc, you're not playing lazy. Look, I turn my head and I find him and I lock onto him. So if you're playing lazy and they go deep, they're probably going to get a score off of that.
I don't know who it was, but somebody played lazy, and there was somebody right here. If they had a decent handler, somebody could put a hammer, a backhand, even a scuba right there. But like they had a person on the far, all the way inside the end zone. Any like fast throw could have made it there before anybody else could have. So yeah. This is why you don't clap catch when it's not windy, because it like goes for the clap catch and he has to bring it into his body. And it was like he was off balance, and then now switching to the grips, it's a lot harder than if he just had a simple claw catch. Sorry. So right here, now he's in good position, but notice how Shin is on the break side. So Shin's right here, like behind Joey, and the cutter he's covering is right here. If that handler was facing forward, that would actually Shin's pretty fast, so Shin might have been able to catch up. But in general, and well, not in general, always in end zone, stay on the fourth side, because otherwise it's like you can't give anything up.
So if you notice right here, Tyler is playing off of his man. Never mind, it's a timeout. But in that situation, I would not play off your man. So if the guy who has the disc right now, if he's like pretty smart or experienced, he's gonna swing it to the second handler, and then everybody on the defense is on the wrong side in that scenario, or is on the right side, but they're weak or susceptible to the break side. So once the white visor guy gets the disc, he can hit it anybody, because we're all on the flick side of the field. So as Tyler, I would play right up, like basically where you could slap this guy's knees. I know I was yelling that a lot because that's how close you should be in a lot of these situations. If you're playing off, they have like a free throw. And especially on the end zone, that free throw is almost always a score.
Also, then is their second handler set up in the right like position right here? Okay, he might be AFK. Schroeds, is their second handler set up in the right position? Oh wait. Oh, okay. Schroeds left. I didn't see that. Their handler's not in the right position even right here. Their handler should be even because they're on the break side, but they're 45 back, so they have a weaker position. But because Taiwai plays off of them, he makes the handler have a stronger position. So it's be able to identify when they're in the wrong position and then play stronger defense, because that means it's going to be a lot harder for them to score. Or not score, like make movement off of that.
So that right there, he's still playing 45 back, but I'm pretty close to him. That's a pick, by the way.
Yeah, wait, let me So right there, Tyler was trying to get to his person, but the person blocked him. Also, I found it funny right before this, Dan said they're all going to come off and somebody's going to come from the back to the front. Because Dan's a big brain boy. But yeah. Call picks. Like Tyler called that and then they didn't get a score because like he got picked. Like yes, like I understand that you might not like want to be like that guy, but like if it's a genuine foul and they were able to score off it, like you should call that because like then they shouldn't get the point if they fouled you for it. So yeah. Oh, also, so what happened right there, and we don't do this a ton just because like we don't have a ton of end zone set plays, but a lot of teams when they get close to the end zone, because like you get your heart's pumping, it's like a stressful situation, they'll take timeouts and they have like set plays, like basketball or like prepared movements to free up one cutter. And they'll run a set play off a timeout. So when teams are near the end zone, or whenever they call a timeout, but especially when they're near the end zone, they call a timeout, just be wary of set plays and really be aware because anything could happen. So like right there, because they didn't have the time, just like because they just ran a set play, they just ran a normal stack after that. Right there, our defense did a good job. If you notice right now, like all of the red jerseys are on the right side of their blue jerseys, which is why they have to throw this over the top throw. Well, they didn't have to throw it, like their handler should have looked back at his second. Because that was like too risky. Like that throw shouldn't have been made. Like if you're going to throw that, you should throw a screwball or a hammer. But like realistically, you should just look back at his second handler. So yeah, but that was good defense on our part.
I'm a little slow on that. I had a free throw off field.
So there's also another thing not to do when you lay out. Notice how Holden, he lands on his knees and then goes to grab it. That will slow you down. You'll hurt your knees. It's going to hurt a lot more to do this than landing on your stomach. Landing on your stomach and chest seems a lot more scary, but this is going to hurt you a lot more, and you have a lot less chance of getting it because you're slowing yourself down. Also, when you have to catch ones that are higher, so like more like chest or head level height, you're not going to be able to. So yeah.
That's a risky throw. Don't make that next time. I think that was Shin who threw that. Judging by
Yeah.
the blade.
Have you watched or anybody else? Have you watched the Temper versus Dig or Truck Stop from Nationals a couple of years ago? I think it was 2019.
Probably, but I don't remember anything of it.
It was like a very windy game, and like Tempers, the Pittsburgh men's club, they were like very good that year. Like they were at Nationals. And they kept on trying to force that like break side OI blade, and it like kept on not working. And even the commentators at that point were like, they should stop forcing it. So like be careful about the throw because a lot of times it is going to be open because their hammers will poach off, but it's just a hard throw to make fast and accurate. Because it's either going to be slow and accurate, and if it's slow, then defenders will be able to get on it. But if it's fast and inaccurate, obviously it's just going to hit the ground and still going to be a turnover. Right here. So like notice I'm like walking, like I'm jogging for a crash. Like yeah, I'm probably tired right there, but like if you're crashing, you should be crashing at full speed. I should have been putting more effort in there. And Shin made a good throw, but like yeah, make sure you're putting effort in when you're crashing and stuff.
You want to just show the point where we play zone D and then call it a day? I have to go soon anyways.
Yeah,
Unless there's something
Oh.
else you want to show, but show that after I have to go.
yeah. Is this the point? I don't think.
It
No,
might be
this isn't
the last point of this half.
No, I don't think it. Wait, maybe it is. Let's see. No, it's not because we scored. It's in the next half.
Wait, are
do
you
you
sure
just?
it's not 9th point?
No, it's not because we scored this one and we lost the zone D point.
Oh, okay.
Do you want like go to that and find that, or do you want to just watch one of these points?
Let's go to the zone point.
Okay. Um. here. Okay, it's not there. Let's see. No, it wasn't the first point. Were you on for the zone D
Yeah, I
point?
pulled it for it. That
Okay.
this might be it. Yeah, okay. So in the beginning, I told 3 people to go cup. Don't argue with that decision because that's ultimately what lost us this point. Like the cup is great. Wyatt's in the cup. He does a fantastic cup. Everybody who was in this cup did pretty good. The problem is our hammers were actually just like toast. Like we put Pebble and then I think Luca in hammer, and that is just gonna get torn up every time. Like one of you has like 3 weeks of playing time, the other has like 5. It's just never gonna work. So just don't argue with that call. I don't care if the cup is slower. I don't care if you're tired. If you're on the point, you're gonna play. Otherwise, you can like sit on the sideline. But it's completely fine if the cup is like 1 second slower. But we really need the hammers to take advantage of all the high throws that they make, and they do end up making a lot, and that's how they end up winning this point.
If you're feeling really like if you're feeling too tired to play cup, tell whoever called the line, be like, I'm too tired to play cup. Let me sit off this point. Yeah, because if you're too tired, you shouldn't play. Like for that point and just take a break and then come back. Yeah, the reason I did all this like scribbling right here is because there's so much space right here, but there's no hammer right here, and there's 3 cutters. So like, and there's 3 cutters right there. I think this is Pebble. Like you should have
Yeah,
been
this is
here.
Pebble's zone. So Pebble, you're watching. Make sure next time you probably won't be playing hammer. You'll be in cup. But for anybody watching, this you should already be here. Like there's 3 guys here that can catch a disc.
You should either be like right here. Actually, no, because like you're a little bit slower. You should be right here, listening to what other people are telling you and stopping these throws.
So there you are now. You're in there. I don't think you completely realize that we're zone yet because you come up to meet that man. But you got to move a little bit faster than that and move without your back being to the disc. Like make sure that you can see the disc.
Also, if anybody's ever filming, this isn't like a very good angle. Try to get more of the field in view because like we can't see any of the kind of motion. So yeah. Also watch this hole right here. Luca played a little bit too far up and he should have been back a little because now they have a massive hole, and like they're probably less comfortable with like with a lower flick. But like most throwers, like I feel like anybody who we play with like at like impulse would feel comfortable throwing that. So yeah, and also yeah, because then they throw this like big over the top, but like they could have thrown that throw right there, and that's a much harder throw to make.
So that sort of throw is why you need experienced people at the hammer position. So the right hammer could have poached up and defended that throw. And you need experience in that position because you need to know, is that a risk I should be taking at that moment? And if it is, I need to communicate with my other players and let your mid deep, which was me in that point. No, I was deep. But you need to let your mid deep cover for you in that scenario. And
Also,
that's just really hard as a newer player. Like you don't need to worry about it, but just keep that in your head.
yeah, for especially for newer players in the cup, when you're this like when you're the middle person, so where Luca is right now, this hole in between him and Wyatt, that's going to be the most common like way the cup is broken. In the middle normally just has to go back more on that, because that throw, even if it's really windy, that throw will work most of the time because it's a nice low throw. And it's easy to get a lot of spin on. So that throw you really gotta focus on if you're the middle person.
That's some good sprinting by the cup, by the way. Pebble, that's a pretty good pursuit on that, but you leave that open, which was your zone. Next time, or for anybody playing that position, just call it out to your mid deep and make sure that he can cover this guy who catches the disc now. Or maybe he drops it, whatever.
Also in general, when you're a hammer, if somebody cuts in, you shouldn't like turn around. Pebble should have stayed. Pebble should have stayed like right there because he sees he's not that big of a threat. So Pebble should have stayed in the space and kind of shuffled over rather than following the person, because we're playing zone and not man.
That's just a bad throw by him.
Yeah, and it's fine because like that was a backhand into a cup forcing flick. So yeah, but that also, the reason he was able to get that off is because Luca was a little bit slow getting there. So there was that hole there. So really make sure that everybody in the cup is putting in maximum effort.
Luca does a pretty good job of what he's doing right there, which is getting open for a cut and distributing correctly.
The cup needs to set up a lot quicker because teams will take advantage of that, taking like 5 seconds to set up, and they'll have the disc halfway up the field by then. Sorry. Was that a travel right there? I guess his pivot foot wasn't established, right?
I can't really see it.
The guy with the visor.
It's probably fine. I wouldn't call it.
Yeah, his pivot foot wasn't established. But in general, you shouldn't throw and lift your left foot because
Yeah.
it'll either be a travel or you'll lose power.
So if you look at Pebble right now, he has no idea where the disc is, and this guy's gonna be open. You have to keep your head looking at the disc because you're not marking people in zone. You're marking your zone.
Pebble
And-
was also, to be fair, he like their fastest person was in their zone, and that's why we shouldn't have new people in hammer as hammers. Also, like, yeah, he throws a hammer, but like Pebble, I know we're like we're like ragging on you a lot, but that's because you're right here next to the camera. You're newer.
I know that it's all on me because I'm new. Like I'm
Yeah.
not as good as everybody else, and I'm making more mistakes than them.
Yeah. So like you kind of like ran with your back turned, you want to like face backwards and shuffle. I'll show you it tomorrow at practice. Just remind me if I forget. But you want to like shuffle and always be looking at the disc and like
Got it.
occasionally be checking your shoulder. You don't want to like turn around and run back. And like I'll teach you that tomorrow because that's more of like a technical mechanical thing.
Okay.
Joey, how much of this point do you want to watch? 'Cause it goes on for like
I want to watch the part where it's like a deep shot and Luca follows.
okay.
It's not this one though.
Yep.
So it's the next time. Wait, no, it's not. Still not this one. Is this my D? Yeah. Okay. So rewind like 10 seconds. So it's not captured in this video, but notice that the guy who ends up there, the cutter who's going for the disc, he isn't my guy. I'm more responsible for the guy that was in the back of the end zone. But I noticed the cut. So that's something you should always be doing, which is keeping an eye on the handler with the disc and the people who are making plays into that space. So even though he wasn't my guy, I was able to turn around and make get on that disc, even though I was like 5 steps behind. It doesn't always happen, but it's just important that you don't completely lock yourself on the one guy you're guarding. And I made a mistake later in this point. It's almost always better to play aggressive. Like if you see a floaty throw, just go for it. Like I think on the eventual drive that they score on, it was a floaty hammer to pebble zone. I think I could have, if I sprinted, I could have gotten a D on it, but I chose not to, and I just, stayed in the deep space, and that's how eventually the guy who caught it, and then I think he's the one that throws it in for the score. So if you're deciding, make this decision fast and stick with it. So like Pebble, you're following your guy there. You could play a little bit off of him because that throw wasn't viable. That's a good cut, and it's just pretty good movement. Like people weren't stagnating, which is what I like to see. So that's the sort of throw the hammer needs to be able to contest.
I think that's yeah. After that point,
Yeah, that's the throw I should have contested. I had a chance at it because it was going semi-deep. I didn't take it, and we lost. I'm not sure. Oh, right here. So I'm covering this guy. So it's a turnover right here. So I'm deep. So I have to hustle. I'm not running as fast as I should be running. But I see the guy. So now I'm sprinting, and it's a deep shot. Luca should not be chasing that. Like that's my space, and now his space is semi-uncovered. So make sure that you just play to your zone, and don't get caught up in the idea that you're playing man and covering a single person. All right, that's all I have to say. I have to go because I've been and whatever. But thanks for coming. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, we'll stop that right there. Like y'all can watch the rest of it. Like yeah, we've been doing it for like an hour and 45 minutes now. So yeah, if you have anything else that's major, like bring it up, send to the group chat. Thanks for coming. We'll try to do more of these. It's just like they take a lot of time, and like we don't want to have y'all doing frisbee for like 4 hours on a school day on a school night. So yeah. Okay.
Please add me to the group me. Ethan, for some reason, is having trouble doing so.
Yeah, I will.
Did you see that I sent my number in
Yeah.
the chat?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Hi, Fish.